Hi, everybody. How are you? I'm going to put everybody up on screen in just a few seconds. But first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming here today for our very special Facebook Live. I'm Erica M. And this is going to be a very exciting conversation. Joining me today is going to be Jan Arden, George Stroumboulopoulos, Strombo, and very talented up-and-coming singer-songwriter, country songwriter, Sacha. Everybody, but Jan is having technical problems right now. So right now I'm going to introduce you to Sacha. Let's introduce you here to Sacha. Hopefully I'm going to get her. Oh, that's fantastic. And George Strombo joining us right now through the magic of the internet. This is fantastic. Today's conversation is going to be about how to raise kids with a music education during the era of COVID. And I'll tell you something, as a mom of two and watching the effect it's having on schools and our kids, this is not an easy discussion to have, but we have some experts here to kick things off. And also we are going to have a lot of very, I would say, impressive music educators. So here's the deal. While we wait for Jan, I would like to get to know who is right now watching us. So if you can, you're watching live right now, jump in and tell us where geographically you're watching from. If you're a parent, if your kids are potentially taking music classes right now, we would love to know what they're studying or what kind of instrument are they playing. And if you're a music teacher, even better. We would love to hear from you and tell us what school you're teaching at. And the idea here is, you know, all 3 or 4 of us are going to have a conversation about music. And hopefully in the comments, all of you guys are going to have conversations as well. This is the idea, is to have this sort of a brainstorm about COVID and education and music education. And we have some of the finest people to help us out. So George, first of all, I'm going to just make sure that you are unmuted. I'm going to make sure everybody's unmuted because I am the wizard behind the Oz here. George, tell me, I know that you have very busy, day-to-day life, and you were called at the last minute to participate in this, and you jumped at it.
Yeah.
So why music counts? Why is this important?
I think that if you just, like, I understand why it's important to push. First of all, shout out your shirt, Sacha. That's an amazing shirt. I love that shirt. I understand why it's important to push kids in STEM. I understand why it's important to push kids into different walks of life to try to get them jobs. I understand that thinking. But I will tell you this, that for me and my friends, it is music and it's art and culture that's another option that needs to be really important for people. Kids gotta play music. There are so many reasons why it's difficult to fit in. So many different reasons it's difficult to connect to what you're learning, to connect with your classmates, to connect with whatever situation you're in. Music is a really beautiful place where you can go figure out who you are before you find a way to connect with others. And I think that arts is the last thing. I always hated that word arts because it made it sound like it was something bigger than what it was. It's just give kids a place to go feel comfortable and learn about themselves before they're ready to step out into the world. And music is one of the first things that gets cut. It's one of the last things to get funded again. And I've seen the impact it's had on my life and my friends' lives. And so many of the artists that I've interviewed over the years, I'm glad to be a part of it because we want to fight for it.
Okay, well, we have Jan is going to join us right now. And through the magic of the internet, Jan Arden, so thrilled to have you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. The idea that we can't hear Jan Arden is just unfair. So while you try and get that goddamn microphone to work, Sacha, I know that your parents were musicians, and music has been a big part in your life. Tell me a little bit about growing up with musicians.
It was fun. I'm really appreciative for that experience, that learning and growing experience, because it's really ingrained in the fiber of my being and who I am today. And it was rehearsals in the house, every instrument around,
So,
guitar
were you
playing.
like a family band or something?
With their family band, they just had their friends over, rehearsing in one of the rooms next, in one of the rehearsal rooms of the living room, really turned to a rehearsal room. Or we'd be at their friend's place and they'd be rehearsing. We'd have bonfires in the backyard, lots of music, lots of original music, and music playing regardless. So I remember going to their shows and being brought out to the Royal Legion and watching them perform and getting babysitters because they were performing. So yeah, it was just, and music just playing 24/7. I is my recollection when I was younger, and just being pumped through our veins.
So the reason why we're all here is to talk about music, but also to talk about music counts. I'm not sure if people who are watching this, does anybody, look at my face is so red. Holy smokes. It's like I've been drinking wine without the wine. That is not fun. So I'm wondering if everybody knows about music counts. I think it's a really important thing for us to talk about, just as Jan tries to get her audio working. So Music Counts is the charity that is funded by the Junos and the general public here in Canada. And the idea behind Music Counts is to support music education in schools. And as you know, COVID has hit so hard. This is supposed to be the time that Music Counts is supposed to be doing their fundraising. And obviously in schools right now, music education, as you said, George, is the last thing on people's minds. And so, in fact, most music classrooms are being overtaken by regular classrooms because everybody is social distancing. And so music is really struggling right now. So it would be really awesome if we can all support Music Counts. They are certainly taking donations tonight. You can go to musiccounts.ca/donate. And if you can spare $10, $20, $2,000, whatever, the money is going to go to keep music in schools. And a little later on, I'm going to tell you how they're going to spend your money. And it is fascinating because really, they have to reimagine how music is going to be taught in schools. So if you donate, look what you get. You get a swag bag. Oh yeah, George.
Yes.
You get a swag bag from the Junos filled with lots of Juno stuff. So Music Counts is actually participating in our party tonight, and they're going to be monitoring to see who and how much you donated. And 5 people are going to get one of those swag bags. So let's see if Jan hasn't yet managed to get her, she's not at her house. She's at someone else's place right now, so she can't control the Wi-Fi. So George, tell me a little bit about the fact that, she's trying to, she's trying with her friend's account to get on. Oh,
amazing.
George, tell me a little bit about your background in music. I didn't know that you're actually a musician yourself.
Yeah, I was a troublemaker kid, and my mother.
You're still a troublemaker kid.
Ain't that the truth, girl? Ain't that the truth? My mother was trying to find a way to give me a place to express myself in a way that she thought was safe and would have long-term benefits. So she forced me to take piano lessons when I was a kid. She had to force me. I had no interest in it whatsoever. I wanted to play guitar. I was listening to the devil's music, but the idea of playing piano didn't really resonate with me as a 10, 12, 13-year-old kid. But she really did it for 2 reasons. One, because she thought it would be a skill I'd want down the road. But she knew that if she could get me to play piano, I might learn a little bit more about the history of music by playing the classics. It would also force me to practice, and she was hoping to instill discipline in me. So it was kind of not really about the music as much as she was trying to get me to learn how to commit to something when I was a kid and how to stay out of trouble. And so I had to go and take piano lessons that I did for years. And then, you go take your lessons at the Royal Conservatory. So I've been playing piano for, I don't know, like 35 years, man.
Seriously?
Yeah. So I played
Why
piano.
don't I know? Does anybody know that? Like,
if you follow me on Instagram, I do these late night live streams at midnight or 1 a.m. for a small group, and I just play piano. And I play and sing, and I have a little bit of fun that way. Piano to me has always been, I'm like a lot of people that maybe like some of you, I'm a very noisy brain. I have a very noisy brain. And sitting down and playing piano at night, and this goes back to the value of music counts and putting instruments. It's not like you're training kids to be musicians so they can go make a career in music. It's not about that. It's about getting kids to learn how to speak in a different language, and the music and learning to play music builds kids' confidence, builds new groups that they can play in. Finding other people to play with helps you learn how to express yourself. It's not about the end goal. And one of the big problems that I have with the education system, and look, I'm lucky because I don't have kids, so I don't have to have the daily fight that you all have to have with kids in schools and education. But I have to interview these kids as they grow up, and I meet them, and I met a lot of them when I was at Much Music. Was everybody was so fixated on the end goal, and that I think was such a huge mistake in how the education system was set up. It's not about the end goal. It's just prepare kids to have a chance. Give them tools and mechanisms.
What do you mean?
A fighting
chance
shot.
For what? A chance for what?
To know who they are, to develop emotionally, to listen to things outside their wheelhouse, to discover. There's so much value in discovery, and music's a great place to teach kids the mechanism of discovery. Like the first time that I heard Tom Waits and was able to bring it to my school kids. Half thought I was crazy, the other half were buying in. And it's like, these are really important mechanisms to learn, and music is just a wonderful way for you to assert yourself and establish who you are as a person. And I think there's value in that. My mother never expected me to be a concert pianist. She knew I would never have the discipline for that. But I play every day, and it's one of the greatest gifts she ever gave me, was forcing me to play that. I learned how to be confident because of my ability to play piano and the lessons I learned in the process of learning it.
Jen freaking Arden, thank you so much.
Al?
I can't hear George. I can't hear.
You can't hear.
I can't hear George. I'm just like.
But he's saying really awesome things.
I bet he is.
Can you hear me, Erica?
I can hear everybody.
You can hear me now? Oh,
yes, Jen.
So I downloaded the app on my phone. Just everybody. We had all this worked out. I am so sorry. And I caught what George was saying, that last little bit there. And anyway, I hope this is okay. I apologize profusely. I'm so honored and excited to be here. George has talked many times over the years. Sacha and I are new pals.
Yeah, my new bud.
Erica, you and I are back. Dare I say 20 years? I don't even want to say that. We're all here.
Oh my God, you're cutting out. Your audio's cutting out. Okay, now I can hear you. Okay. Okay, that sounds that's better, Jan.
Okay.
Jan's coming alive now.
But we have the common ground of music.
Yeah.
And that's what has brought us all together over these past decades. That's what's brought Sacha to the fold, is, her love of music and a desire to pursue a musical career and all of the gifts that brings. But music has saved me. I heard George just near the end there talking about the piano lessons and playing piano. And no, you didn't turn out to be a concert pianist, but your effect, your impact on the music business, George, is profoundly giant. It's, your promotion of music, your love of the arts. I have learned about more musicians through your podcasts, through your shows, through the concerts that you've done at your apartment. You have turned me on to more music than any other single thing in that I've ever been exposed to. I know I can go and listen to your show and hear stuff.
Thank you so much.
Do you think, George, would you be as good an interviewer if you weren't able to play, if you weren't a player?
Well, thank you. I don't know if I'm a good interviewer, but I'm a committed listener, and I don't know that I would be as I feel like if I wasn't a player, I wouldn't have learned to listen to music the way I did. And it allows me to hear different things in songs from the artists I'm interviewing. But what it has done is it's taught me how to appreciate quiet space. And if I didn't have the love of music, I don't think I would be in this business at all. So no, I don't think I would be interviewing. I don't think I would be as curious if I didn't discover music. It was music fed that curiosity grain inside me. And if I didn't have that, I didn't play. And I think what's really important too is, and this is maybe speaks to that, I had to do something, I had to learn something, and I had to be bad at something. Not being able to play something on piano and knowing how it should sound, the not giving up, the process of getting through it, finding breakthroughs. I don't think I would. I kind of look at an interview when I'm doing an interview in that way. If I'm asking a question and I'm not getting to the place I want to get to, it's just practice. I got to keep going. I got to keep going, and then at one point I'll find that way, and I'll find that way through it. And I don't think I would have that commitment to the craft if I didn't learn it, because otherwise, like, I would be just another bad kid in a compromised neighborhood. Like, that's, and I would have been okay with that path. It's just that this taught me to listen to beautiful things and to be committed to a craft. And I don't think I would be an interviewer in this business whatsoever if I wasn't committed to craft. And I wouldn't have learned the craft if I didn't go through the piano experience.
Sacha, let me ask you a question about being a musician, growing up in a family of musicians. Tell me about the art of practicing and repetition and how that may have affected you.
Well, and the funny thing is, being in a musical home, I wasn't taught. Everything was taught by ear. I got on these little instruments, and I taught myself how to play. And I remember when I picked up guitar, kidding not, it was 3 hours a day in front of a mirror every day. And learning coordination and rhythm and singing, and repetition is it is a key coordinate for learning an instrument. I remember playing until my fingers looked like, the fingertip looked like they were in a meat grinder with the guitar calluses, and just building that muscle memory. It's a skill, and I think it's a valuable skill to learn and to have in this day and age, being music. And so, yeah, definitely repetition was a key component in me honing my skill as a musician.
And Jen, you missed George earlier talking about how music affected him and the effect that it has on people. I know for you, the connection between music and mental health is profound, especially now in COVID, where all of our spirits are crumbling. The irony that music is being taken out of schools at this very time. Can you speak to that?
Well, it's pretty irresponsible. And I was very lucky to come up through elementary school and junior high school when they did have music and arts programs. And I went to a small country school. But there's so much science. George and Sacha, I'm sure, are very well versed in this, as are you, Erica. There's so much science to what music and what the arts does for learning for students. It improves their math skills, their vocabulary, their ability to socialize, their well-being, their health, their blood pressure. There's so much good science, very well thought out science, very well investigated science that goes along with music wellness with people and people that are involved in music. It really saved me. My dad was an alcoholic, so I needed to escape him when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. I went into my parents' basement. My mom had an old guitar down there, and I would never have gone into music had not my dad not been had a drinking problem. I know that sounds really nutty, but good things come out of bad things, and a lot of good things comes out of music. I mean, this is a time where more than ever we need the arts and we need music to be brought back into the curriculum so that kids have access to instruments and singing and music and creativity. I think the impact will be so monumentally huge.
So I want to introduce some people who have joined us in the talk. Kim Hastings is here. I don't know if that name rings a bell for you, Jan. She is a music educator from Rocky Mountain House, and she was the 2019 Music Teacher of the Year, and that was the award that you sponsored.
Yes.
So she's here, and one of the things that Kim did at the start of COVID, she wanted her students to play for an audience, and so she asked them to play for their farm animals and their pets. And what I love about that is the idea that music can be performed for anyone or for yourself. And I wonder if any of you would speak to the concept or answer the question. I was thinking, do we need an audience to have music?
I sure don't. I don't know how Sacha feels.
No, not at all.
I mean, I played half my career with no audience, a few drunk guys in Smithers, British Columbia. So, you know, the first half of my career was nobody listening to me. So I'm quite used to that. But I think, you know, hearing Sacha talking about playing in front of a mirror and looking at how she was standing and listening to the timbre of her voice and her friggin' fingers just about falling off. It brought you so much joy, Sacha, to just learn and to see yourself getting better. So for me, the answer is absolutely not. I do not need an audience. It's a lot like dating. I don't need anybody but myself. And, you know, there's high hopes, but music is it's about personal consumption, isn't it? It's about the soccer moms driving around in their vans. It's about kids that are grieving and socially awkward, playing a song over and over in their bedrooms. Brian Wilson wrote a great song called In My Room, you know, that the Beach Boys had. And it speaks to that moment with music and with a song. There's a place that I can go and tell all my troubles to. And that's where we listen to music. It is a very individual, private journey. It's not always about raves. The healing part of that certainly is with being together with people, but it's also that just you, Sacha, and your guitar and the song that you're learning and the song you're writing. It's so wonderful.
It's true. I like how you put that, Jan. And you know, it's like somebody looking in the mirror and being their own cheerleader and, you know, building your own confidence. Music has a lot to do with personal confidence. I can speak for myself, but even for some of the students that I've seen grow in their confidence when I volunteered at music programs, and you've got kids from all different backgrounds and different, you know, financial situations and personal character, you know, developments and levels, and you see just how music is just so it doesn't favor anybody. It is the same impact and experience for each individual. It can be taken in for you know, in different personal elements, but across the board, music has this universal impact. And I've seen it with young kids where, you know, they'd sing and they would have to sing with their back turned, and then slowly but surely they'd start singing with, you know, in front, and then they'd have the mask off their face, and now you can see their face, and they're singing and they're becoming confident. And so music definitely has that appeal. It is, like Jan was saying, it's got that therapeutic and physical, psychological healing elements, and to take that away out of school, I mean, other than just academic programs, or for people who are academically inclined, I mean, everybody needs an outlet where they can there still needs to be the art of expression and the art of music, because you've got to have a variety and diversity where education is concerned, not just academic, but the arts as well. It's equally important.
And also, like on a practical level too, I think it's really important if somebody starts to learn an instrument and can figure it out, and then they have to commit to the idea of go play in front of people. Like, it's true that not everybody will do that, but I think on a very practical level, a lot of life skills, and so many of the people I've interviewed over the years have had to take that step. And so to me, as beautiful and as powerful as all it is, the songs, just the idea that that kid has the back turned and turns and faces the crowd,
Beautiful.
There's so many musicians I've interviewed who are so uncomfortable in every aspect of their life, except for weirdly when they're on stage and their brain gets quiet. And that's a really practical application about why you got to teach somebody to play an instrument. You got to give their brain a break from
I
all the
think
other stuff.
it's interesting. You never know where music is going to take you. And joining us in the chat right now is Carter Chasen. And Carter is the 2020 Music Counts Teacher of the Year. Nice. And you probably have heard about Carter. He's from the Eskasoni First Nation, and he worked with his student Emma Stevens, who covered the Beatles' Blackbird in Micmac. Do you remember when that went viral? Well, Carter and Emma were invited to perform at the World Economic Forum for the UN in the Middle East this year. And so imagine this young girl from somewhere very rural ends up at the UN, and it's music that takes you there. And it just, to me, that says so much about the fact that you never know. It's that never know of you do what you love. And I think that that's something that is music instills such passion in people. But I mean, the reality is the music business is not what it was. And I wonder, would you encourage a child or a parent to encourage their children to pursue a career in music? Yes, George, yes?
100%. Because you know what, you're going to be, like, I mean, it's easy for the guy with no kids to say this, but, but if it's something that you want to do, separate yourself from the outcome. It's the doing that matters. And you could get lucky, you know, because the truth is there's so many incredible artists that we'll never get a chance to hear because the business decided not to share them with us, or the algorithm on your Instagram decided not to put them in your discovery page. So, but they're no less. One of the things I love about TikTok, as really disheartening as social media can be, you know, it's the scrolling on a bathroom wall. If you get on TikTok and dive in, you see these incredible young players and young girls playing guitar riffs and young guys playing beats and dancing, and you see this. Fame is irrelevant to it. I would tell it, if this brings you joy, go get it, because life isn't going to turn out the way you want anyway, because no one's does. So if you find something that brings you joy, go get it. I would totally encourage people to do that.
I want to thank Pauline Ellie, who just donated. I really appreciate that. For those of you tuning in, this conversation is really being made possible by Music Counts, which is the Junos charity, and they raise funds so they to help schools develop their music programs. And this year, the money is going to be spent differently. I just want to give you a few ways that they're going to be spending their money, so you understand when you donate how it's being spent. So, for example, this year a lot of schools are going to have to buy additional instruments because now kids need to have one of their own because they can't share instruments the same way. They're going to need different cleaning solutions because they have to sterilize all the instruments, and you need a very special kind of cleaner. Like, these are the things you don't think of. Or, for example, a lot of schools are now going to be investing in MIDI keyboards because they plug into computers. So when kids are at home learning, they can play together through the magic of the internet. And I'm curious, we have a lot of teachers, music teachers who are joining us. I would love for you guys to share some of the innovative ways that you are going to be teaching music this year. I know that some of the music teachers are actually losing their classrooms, as I mentioned before. And so schools need to pay for carts that will cart the instruments and other equipment into the different classrooms, because the music teacher will be going into the classrooms rather than the students going into the music classroom. So there are a lot of funds that need to be had. So as you're watching this, if you'd like to donate to Music Counts, that would be awesome. Jan Arden, I would like you to tell me, what is it, how do you feel when you listen to music that hits you? Can you describe the feeling of music?
It honestly feels kind of like having a crush on somebody or falling in love. You recognize those feelings of passion, and you know what they are when you kind of get older in your 20s and you're disappointed by something that's not reciprocated. But for me, as a very young person, I felt such a sense of, I guess it was serotonin, like just running around my brain like crazy, and having a visceral, tactile, physical response to listening to something. I'll never forget the first time I heard Karen Carpenter's voice. I got her record from the Columbia Record Club. You know, for 1 cent, you can buy 10 LP records. My dad was so freaking furious with us because once you got onto the Columbia Record Club, you never got off. I'm still a member. And, you know, it's like you had to mail off your record and send them back to Buffalo, New York or something. Anyhow, Karen Carpenter, I remember dropping that needle, the needle of the record player. It was so crappy that we had to tape pennies onto the arm of the record player to make
Yeah.
it stay, right, George?
Yep, totally.
Because it skipped round, and We've Only Just Begun or Ticket to Ride. I was like, I felt like I got struck by lightning.
Okay, that's a good one on that note. What I would love to know is we just lost George. I think you just freaked him right out and he just exploded with the lightning. But I think it would be interesting for both of you who, if you can go back to when you were really young, Sacha, it'll be easier for you than for us. And
Hey.
us. Think about what would you recommend to parents who are watching this right now, who have kids who are in the arts and in music, and they are not going to be going in school. So they're going to be playing their instruments at home. They're going to have to practice. Do you have any strategies, especially Sacha, because you're a teacher, you're actually a music teacher. What would you recommend that parents can do to get their kids to want to practice and really dig into their instrument?
Well, I've been thinking about it because with COVID, it's kind of put a little bit of a halt on the whole in-person lessons, and it's kind of forced you to be a little, again, exercise your creativity in how to continue to maintain and keep the momentum up with students and what they're learning. So I did do some Skype lessons. Thank God for technology. And I find that people are becoming so creative, even when it comes to shows aspects. Like creativity is part of our DNA. So that's just a sign to say that music is a part of creativity, and it's that important because we find ways where there are no ways. We make a way where there's.
It's like water, right?
Really,
water finds a way.
Mm-hmm. And I think, and I've been thinking about that too lately because I don't know how long this is going to go on for, but I think that just like little, definitely involve the parents too and get to help enforce some accountability for the students to continue to be motivated. Like, okay, there's this song here, and next time we meet, or next time maybe do a little video for me and send me the video and I can see your progress. Or this is your project, and even though we can't meet in person or we haven't had lessons for a long time, this is just some of the things that I've been brainstorming lately. Is just, send me just results through videos and results through, or just send little tasks to keep them motivated. This part of the song, okay, front to end part of the song, depending on where they are in the levels. But just I'm still scraping around with that idea. But I think definitely, I'm looking forward to getting videos from parents, video submissions of the progress.
Mm-hmm. Jen, when COVID hit, you jumped into action like a musical superhero, and you performed every day. You told funny stories, but you did live performances that brought everybody together. And I would love for you to talk about that feeling of really healing. You were helping us heal. And when you did that, I thought it was an incredibly generous thing to do.
Well, everybody ended up doing online concerts of some kind.
You were first.
Well, that is so nutty. I have to credit my friend Naomi Sneakus, who has something called the Firecracker Club, the Firecrackers, and she deals with female producers, actors, directors, writers, She's incredible. And we were talking one day on like a Zoom type call, and she just said, "Oh my gosh, Zoom would be so great. You could really like do a concert at home and do it for like 200 people." And I just thought, well, maybe I can just do it on Facebook. So I remember my guitar player, Russ Broom, coming over. And I'm like, Russ, you want to play a few songs? We thought there'd be like 200 people maybe that would log on, and there was something like 15,000.
I was there.
And well, I was just gobsmacked, but it was more for me and Russell too. We felt really helpless. We're not doctors, we're not nurses. I don't have any skills. I can't build stuff. I'm not a scientist. So as an artistic person, you feel like, how can I possibly participate or help in any way with all of this? And the only thing I have is music. That's something I'm good at. It's something that I can do. And so that's just what popped into my head. And Russ and I had the best time. We were so lifted by other people and what people did for us, and their comments and their feedback it really helped me get over a lot of fear. And it sent me in the right direction of, this is possible and we're going to do this. And yeah, it was great. I loved it.
Some people say that music education is more of a team sport than sports. Do you agree with that?
I think George can probably speak to that.
I mean, it depends what you want out of team sports.
I can hear you now, George. This is great.
Wonderful.
Oh, yay!
Hello. I love that shirt. Do I think it's more of a team sport? I think it is a team sport. I think it's just different. I think what's interesting about it as far as a team sport, especially if you get in any kind of band or jam situation, it's how do you play with somebody else? What's different about it than traditional team sports is team sports really, and it's part of our toxic masculinity, outdated version of sports, but it tells you to fit in. Whereas in music, especially depending on your genre, you can fit in, but you can still be you. And your expression is valid. Whereas in sports, you kind of got to play along. No one in sports really lets kids have fun the same way, certainly as it gets more competitive. Where in music, if you're competitive, it's still fun. You got to go out there and destroy. That's pretty great. And so I think it is very team sport like, except there's more room for expression, and that makes it a better fit for people who don't, like me, who didn't want to fit in.
First of all, I want to thank everybody, all the parents, you guys. I don't know if you're looking at the comments, but that conversation is way more interesting than the one that we're having here. It is spectacular. So I want to thank all the teachers and all the parents who are having such an amazing conversation with the folks at Music Counts while this is going on. We're a passionate bunch, I know, as parents who want our kids to be inspired. I would like to ask each of you, how do you see music evolving in terms of, in this world of COVID right now? Where are we going to see, or how are we seeing innovation today, both in the world of education, but also in performance and in recording, etc.? I'm really curious what each of you have to say.
Sacha, go.
Oh, geez. I find, again, like music is such a fast-paced, ever metamorphosizing industry, and I feel like we are again on the cusp of a new metamorphosis for where music is concerned and how it's going to look. And I'm optimistic. I find that there's a great opportunity actually at hand, even for independent artists like myself, where we can reach people that we wouldn't necessarily be able to reach had it been the typical touring style, which I love to do, and I'm looking forward to getting back to that. But we can still see the good stuff within all the debris of what's going on, and I find that I just found it fascinating. Like even Dan was doing her house concerts, I found it fascinating how we find a way where there seems to be no way, because creativity is what we do, it's who we are. So even though it looks like we're up against a million hurdles, we're going to find a way over it. So I'm optimistic of how we're going to hurdle over this new era of how music is being presented. and creativity. I'll leave it up to you guys to share some thoughts there.
Okay, what do you think?
People are very they are very optimistic, and no one wants to let go of the idea of seeing the arts, going to see dance or theater or Broadway. I mean, it is, people are going to get back to it. It's a matter of how to do it safely, how to do it succinctly, how to do it without endangering performers or the people watching. I think social distancing and wearing masks is still going to be paramount going forward. But I know very well that I, right now today, would be comfortable going to a theater that was filled at a third capacity. I really would. I
Yeah,
think
me
if there
too.
was a couple of seats in between me, I think if everyone had masks on, I think if there was, organization done and scheduling done, I think people would really enjoy themselves. I think it could be done properly. Um, and I think starting with small theaters is going to be really important, and doing multiple nights. That's kind of where I see myself going, but I'm not slated to start working until April or May next year as far as live goes. I feel good about it, but I'm also going to listen to our leaders. I'm going to listen to the people, the doctors, the people on the front line, and how that we all have to work together. So there's no pointing fingers, and we can't shame each other for, if a friend of yours wants to go see a movie or something. I think we have to be really mindful and really supportive of how we make our way through getting music, getting the arts back into our lives on a live basis. I know a lot of people have been doing shows at drive-in theaters, which is awesome. You drive your car up, you put your lights on, the kids are up on the stage playing rock and roll. I know that there was some prototypes in Europe where people sat on a little pod, their own stage riser at an outdoor venue. So if you had four people in your pod, there was like 100 of these stations where people went, sat on their little pods, and watched music. People are absolutely so innovative, and human beings were built for change.
Yeah,
Ain't nothing gonna stop this show.
great.
Nothing's gonna keep people from live music. We just have to figure out a way where people are comfortable. We can do it safely. Uh, we're going to get there. I have so much optimism, and it's going to be better than ever. But there's a true there's a renaissance right now with how people are appreciating the arts, how the arts have played such a massive role in COVID, how we've entertained ourselves at home. The most inspiring thing I've seen was Italy in the very middle of their disastrous stuff that was happening. 1,500 deaths a day. It was horrific, and everyone was quarantined to their apartments. People singing on their balconies, people singing, playing music to each other. I bawled my head off because I thought, here's these people standing out on the planks of their balconies, singing into the abyss, and it was all music and playing drums and singing arias. And I thought, there's the human spirit. There's there is the spark in our hearts that we will not be defeated by this, and we won't be.
George, innovation is in many different ways, and I'm curious, have you been hearing about people who are recording or collaborating in new ways because they can't be in the same room together?
I think, yes. I think what's happened is no one has the excuse anymore of saying, I can't, I'm on tour. So everybody's at home now. So if you send somebody a WAV file and you want a vocal track, they know where you are. So I am hearing that. Well, I was interviewing a couple of bands yesterday, and what they said was they've used this time to reach out to people that they haven't spoken to in years because their whole system's been upset. So they're not touring. So they really are just going, hey, what are you working on? So collaborations are starting to happen. The tech is obviously there. The live collaborations are fun. I don't think that the live stream game is going to last forever because no one's going to make money off that, and they can't sustain it in any way. That's got to change. And one thing that we know to be true is that once the industry finds a way to make money off an artist, they'll do it. So they're going to figure this out. The idea of going back on the road, I think is going to come not for a while. You're looking at the biggest reason is insurance. And, the promoters have now reworked the live touring deals which are really putting the artists up against it. So I think that whole business is going to change, Jen, and Sacha, you'll know more about it than I do because I don't have to go on the road. But a lot of the artists I'm talking to, they're talking about how the big promoters are really screwing them, and it's going to be hard for them to do it that way. But they're collaborating, they're dropping records. We're getting new music all the time, and you don't need radio, you don't need any of that stuff anymore. Radio's great to have. We play the songs on our show, but artists have figured it out on their own now. So I think that it's not stopped music flow, and they're collaborating more. I don't know what it means financially, because honestly, if you got to get paid from streaming, you got to go on the road, you got to sell merch. I think the merch game is going to get really creative because that's going to be a really important revenue stream once again for artists.
Yeah. Okay, I want to give a shout out to another teacher. Steve Sanis is here with us tonight. He's from Port Coquitlam in BC, and Steve was a Music Counts Teacher of the Year in 2015. They give away an award every year and have been doing so since 2000. I would like to say that I think that teachers are the new frontline workers, and I want to thank every single teacher who is obviously teaching, but especially the ones who have showed up today. Before we wrap this up, I think it would be really awesome for each of you to say a few words to the teachers who are, coping with a lot right now, especially the music educators who are, as we know, at the bottom of the totem pole these days. If you want to sort of say a few words to them, Sacha, if you want to kick that off and tell them, maybe give them some advice or something that, to help them get through this very interestingly tough year.
I think maybe just a word of encouragement. I commend you. I commend you for your services, and I hope you know how valued your skill and your service is for the generation. It's like passing on rubies and jewels to the generations to come, and it's very important. I know how my life has been impacted from music class, okay, as a kid, and having the influence of music in my life and what it's created for me today. And I just want to say, you guys you're heroes. And there's a lot of great artists and musicians and teachers that come from the fruit of your service.
George?
Yep.
I was kicked out of school, and what happened, and so I wasn't going to graduate, and it was mostly my fault, mostly. I had a teacher who pulled me aside and said, they can stop you from coming to school, but they can't stop you from writing the exam. So tell you what, why don't you just come every day anyway? I'll mark you absent, but you're still going to learn. And it was in the arts. You're still going to learn. So come in through the back door. And I will tell your other teacher to also mark you absent so you don't get lost in this system. Those two teachers, so I was a super shy kid. They cast me in a musical. It was a drama. And if those two teachers didn't do that for me, now I passed the exam because I was marked absent. I'm nowhere here. I don't have any of the grace of others that I've had. So I know the teachers, the union, the problems with government, parents all have individual needs. You are in a fire pit of pressure, and I get it. I can't even speak to what you're dealing with. But know this, two teachers saved my life through art because they recognized I didn't fit in, but that there was value in what I had. And it was my love of music that connected them to me. So you can't be that all the time to every kid. I get it. But you could be that to one. So my debt of gratitude to Mr. Ciccatelli, Ms. Hollowitz, and Mr. Hamilton. Those three teachers, Mr. Ciccatelli convinced the other two to save me. I'm not here. I'm not having this opportunity to talk to you. So you guys saved me, so you can do it for other people.
Okay, I'm just going to wipe a little tear from my eye. And Jen, if you want to wrap up our evening with a shout out to the teachers.
That's so great, George.
It's true.
And Sasha, I thank you. Sasha, you're such a well-spoken young lady, and it's so refreshing to hear your positivity, to hear George's, experience, and it's an honor to be here. I had a teacher, Judy Humphreys, my music teacher in fourth grade at Elbow Valley Elementary School in Springbank, Alberta. And she had long red hair, and she wore pink sweaters, and she had leather boots, and she came in and she brought her own record player, and she brought a big friggin' box full of albums from her house. And I was just like, she made us feel so grown up. I thought, here she is, Mrs. Humphreys, the coolest person in the world, setting her record player down and taking the speakers off. I thought, oh my God, she's got a portable record player. And she played Anne Murray, and she played the Mamas and the Papas, and she played the Beach Boys. And I just sat there on this carpeted bleacher like, what is going on? And then she just had us dancing to these songs and singing along to the songs. And, she taught us practical things, certainly how to read notes. And I remember her on the chalkboard. And I, I will never forget her. We kept in touch up until her death. She died of ALS about 18 months ago. And I just was so thrilled that she remembered me. And it's like George said, you can't do it for everybody, but she did do it for everybody. Every kid in that class, there was like 30 of us. We felt like the most special people in the world because of our shared love of music and how it made us feel. So I'm grateful that that was in our schools. I hope they bring it back. I think it's important, the work that Music Counts does, to put instruments in people's hands, to put power and creativity in the hands of these kids. It will change their lives. It will change their futures. It will change their mental health. It'll change how they make their way through the world. And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
No chance. You're special.
You're all special. And everyone who joined our call today is special. Thank you so much for showing up for your kids and for the future of music in our country. If you haven't yet done so, donation to musiccounts.ca/donate would be incredibly appreciated. I want to thank all the teachers for the year that you're about to have. We know it's a tough one, and my heart goes out to all of you for doing it for our kids. I really want to thank Jen, Arden, and Strombo, and Sacha for giving up your evening tonight to help us all out and to have this really spectacular conversation. And most importantly, I want to thank the people at Music Counts who let me host tonight.
Thank you, Erica.
Yeah, hold on. This is, okay, you can't say, this is Erica M here. This is when my friends, and I've been lucky enough to have a decent career, my friends today found out I was going on with Erica M. They freaked out. So you're a huge reason why people, I see Denise Donlin on here as well. The two of you women are enormous reasons why there's such a sophisticated and passionate music fandom in this country. No network in the world and no country, I feel badly for people around the world. They didn't have much music. That golden era of much music. I mean, the first intimate and interactive, I think, was Mendelssohn Joe. Like, the range of music, like that whole, we don't have that without Denise and you, Erica. And so, like,
I freaked out the first time
us.
I got to talk to Erica. I freaked out. When I met Denise Donlin, I freaked out. The VJs, it was like a dream talking to you, Erica, and just well, I'll never forget it. I felt like when I showed up in Toronto and got to go on Much Music that I had actually made it.
Yep.
You guys just made my day. Thank you so much. Mwah. We'll see you all next time for another Facebook Live here on the YMC page. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.